thank you so much, Bob, for sharing your insight and coming to the radio with us and during the COVID time. And it's your weekend, supposed to be social life. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Bob.
I'm happy to be here for you, Tina.
Oh, thank you. So, 我哋今日咧就想同大家分享咧，就係Bob 咧係45年嘅經驗。我都未移民過嚟啦，咁所以今日咧個節目咧實在係非常之豐富。另外咧就係話講關於個 condo 嗰個 market 啦，喺45年裏邊點樣去轉變啦。So is 有好多嘅 information. So much information. I don't know 1 hour is going to be enough.
Well, you start wherever you want.
Exactly. So I'm going to take off this for now. Now, for social distancing, so we're trying to be as far away from each other, but we're good. We're
way behind you.
Exactly. So I guess the first things I want to ask is like I came here in 1991, and you have been in the business since 45 years ago. You said.
I came into the business in 1975. When I came in 1975, a 33-foot lot in East Vancouver was $33,000.
Wow.
And everybody told me I missed it.
Okay.
That prices aren't going up anymore, the market's going to die.
Okay.
And look where we are today.
Exactly. So 就想同大家分享啦。Bob 咧1975年入行嗰陣時咧，一間屋咧 detached house 啦，standard lot 咁樣啦，淨係33,000蚊。嗰陣時咧，啲人咧就同佢講話：哇，你已經 miss 咗個時機啦，個價錢咧唔會再高啦。即係今日嚟講33尺 lot 喺東區，你話幾多錢啊 ？So how much? So 33-foot lot, just the lot itself, like $1 million something. Anyway, doesn't matter where, right?
Yeah, I would say a good 33 today. I don't.
I know.
But would you say that's $1 million?
Million two,
million
three, somewhere around there, right? 因為今時今日咧，淨係地價咧都可能咧就係123萬左右啦。
A 33-foot lot, new home, was $69,000 and just started to break into the 70s.
So that's 1975.
76. My career got going.
Yeah, so 1975年嘅時候咧，一間全新嘅獨立屋咧，大概69,000蚊嘅啫。咁你自己諗下啦，今時今日咁樣樣。So what brought you into the business?
My story is very well known. I didn't graduate from grade 12, and I picked up my grades that year so that I had to wait for my bartender's license and my real estate license. My mother was looking at selling our home, and I saw that she made coffee and cake for the realtor that came to do the appraisal from Block Brothers, which turned to NRS.
Yes, I was started.
And is gone. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting, because I always had a bent for marketing and advertising.
Yes.
Side, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess way back then, we didn't know what we were doing, right? After 45 years, it's a completely different world. So let me translate that. 嗱，Bob 咧，我問佢嘛幾時入行？點解會入行咧？因為嗰陣時咧，佢話咧，佢媽媽咧就係會整啲 coffee 啊、cake 啊，即係咖啡啊、蛋糕啊，咁啊整嘅時候咧，就買啲嘅時候咧，就換咗有好多經紀咧會去嚟即係入嚟幫襯。咁嗰陣時嚟講咧，佢話佢個故事咧，就非常之多人知道㗎啦，就係佢12班都未讀完，咁所以變咗咧就即係嗰個時候就今時今日嘅 Bob 就完全唔另外一個人啦 ，right? So okay, let's get into you didn't start with the condos. You start with house.
I was a single family house salesman until about 1989. And a fellow named Dan Eulander asked me to come and look at a project, 1750 Augusta Grove, just at the foot of Burnaby Mountain.
Yes.
And I said to him, the 1 bedrooms are $89,000, the 2 bedrooms are $109,000, but this isn't what I do. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, nobody has said that high. I said, I would sell them to my clients' children. And we never looked back.
哇 ，so 阿 Bob 嘅意思我就問佢啦，你初唔係即刻去買 condo 噶嘛？咁你點樣嘅咧？佢話咧，佢一開始嘅時候咧就係賣 house 噶啦，咁直至到咧就1989年嘅時候咧，佢先至開始有個客咧就叫佢去睇一睇1750 Augusta Grove 喺 Burnaby 嘅山腳嗰度咧就幫佢睇，嗰陣時咧個 condo 咧就大概係89,000蚊，咁然之後咧唔係8,900蚊，即係個屋價就咁上下，咁然之後咧佢話一啲189,000，一啲係10,900，咁佢話我唔做呢啲嘅喎，咁但係咧嗰位人士咧 Dan 咧就勸喻咗佢，直至之後開始佢嘅 condo 嘅生涯啦。So 45 years, fast forward, what do you feel? You know, like how do you see it evolve from all this year after you get involved, and you know, like how Chinese actually has involved with this whole condo investment situation. So let me translate it into Cantonese first. 咁我咧就問阿 Bob 嘅，佢一開始嗰陣時，咁過去45年嚟講咧，就係究竟係點樣咧？嗰個轉變啊，同埋咧即係 condo 嗰個轉變係點樣咧？第一、第二咧就係中國人啦 ，Chinese 咧喺 condo market 嘅時候咧，喺公寓嘅情況咧，就係投資啊所有嘢嘅時候，有咩轉變定對呢個condo 個 market 有咩轉變 ？So share with us, Bob.
But you see, the difference is when I started, I would arrive at someone's kitchen table and I carried all the knowledge. I would tell them interest rates were 12%. I would tell them what the neighbors sold for. We didn't have the internet. Now, for any realtors listening, when you arrive to someone's house, they have as much information as you do. But what we realized is I've always been data driven. I believe in the saying Senator Robert Monahan's saying is everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but no one is entitled to their own data.
Absolutely.
So we turned our company into absolute data based. We can tell you immigration numbers, population numbers, aging numbers, and job numbers. So we're confident advising the development community. And then my son Chris, who runs the company, has grown the brokerage side to about 160 agents. We just bought 2 offices in North Van, and we're opening in Surrey and Burnaby. But the reason we're doing that is we find that the market is starved for data. So our economists and our demographers that have been advising developers are now doing the same for single-family home sales.
Okay, so let me just translate that. So 我就想同阿 Bob 佢頭先講嘅意思咧，就係話咧，以前我哋做經紀嘅時候咧，如果大家即係喺度好耐移民嗰啲咧，就知道我哋有本書嘅 ，we had the book, you know, the Block Brothers book, right? Yeah. So that's what we had. 咁嗰陣時咧就我哋有書嘅啫，就冇 internet 嘅。咁嗰陣時咧就我哋咧就知識就最多噶啦。你想知道你間屋係賣幾多錢，隔離賣幾多錢之類嘅時候咧，你哋要問我哋，個客人要問我哋。或者個買家或者賣家，但係今時今日嘅時候咧就唔係啦，因為個 internet 嘅情況咧就係人都知道，我哋經紀行入去嘅時候，玩下手你知道嘅嘢咧仲多過我哋，咁所以咧阿 Bob 嗰陣時候咧就知道咧就係 data 數據咧係非常之重要嘅，就令到咧佢就決定咧就係將佢個成間公司咧嗰個轉嗰個角度咧就係 data， 全部都係數據。咁如果你話想知道咧 immigration 咧即係移民啦，或者老化人口老化啦，或者係嗰個job 啦，即係嗰個就業機會啊，咁所有咧佢所有嘅 data 都有。咁嘅情況之下，佢會令到咧邊個人佢啲客啊或者 developer 啊開發商需要又好 ，government 啊政客啲人需要又好，佢有晒啲 data 去 advise 佢哋，俾佢哋有一個資訊咧，就知道應該咧未來係點樣行。Okay, so when you have all this data, when did you start this data?
I always.
I know you always like it.
No, from 1975, I always did research and pretended it was just luck.
Okay.
But some of the data that's affecting all of us out here, because you always have to wonder why our jobs survive. Why should somebody buy? Why should somebody sell? Well, if you look at some of the high level numbers, you know, Canada up to 2019 said that we were taking immigration to 350,000 immigrants per year to Canada. approximately 16% of that immigration comes to the lower mainland. For 2020, because of COVID, that dropped to 198,000.
Yes.
For next year, 2023, we'll go to 400,000 and then 421 and
Yes.
431,000.
1.2 million. Yeah.
So that immigration, as it spikes, we have never married housing stock, condos, rental, social housing, and single family. We've never married it to immigration.
OK，so 嗱，阿 Bob 嘅意思嗱，即係我要記住所有嘅嘢咧，就係話咧，其實咧，佢一早咧就1970幾年開始咧已經中意收集數據，所以咧佢而家就係所以你任何嘢咧就係關於嗰個移民咧，頭先我講啦，都會有知道嗰個數據嘅咧係點樣樣嘅。咁嗱，最主要嚟講咧就係話咧好似講緊移民啦，2019年嘅時候咧，個移民咧就其實咧就真係得諗住係35萬嘅啫。咁點知2020年開始咧有 Covid 啦，咁所以令到咧嗰個人口咧嗰個就已經跌咗到19萬8。咁但係咧到出年之後咧就會講到42萬啊、40幾萬，我哋知道未來嗰3年咧就係120萬嘅。咁佢所有嘅數據咧就會可以大家分析得到咧，邊個人買嘢，佢哋或者邊個人賣嘢，佢買啲乜嘢，所有啲數據咧就可以清清楚楚。咁但係以前咧就係、政府咧佢哋冇將呢啲咁嘅數據咧係同個 immigration 咧個移民咧就拉埋一齊啊。咁所以變咗咧而家嘅情況嘅時候咧將個移民嗰個法例或者個人數咧拉得太遠，所以根本咧就係唔平衡嘅。今次嚟講嘅時候咧，佢啲數據咧就可以令到大家咧就係即係比較清楚啲啦。OK， now Chinese has this funny thing. Chinese thinks if we don't buy, like nobody's buying. So, obviously it's not true.
Look at 2020 with
Yes.
with limited flights, inability to get here. You look at single family home sales. They're off the charts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the other thing that we have to marry is one, why do we need immigration? Because we will have more deaths than births in British Columbia by 2028. So we need to immigrate people to pay taxes and fill our jobs, or we'll have nobody to pay taxes 25 years from now. But the other thing is that if you look at the social unrest of America, you see what went on June the 6th at the Capitol buildings, what's going on in Washington State, what's going on in Portland. No employer is going to keep 100,000 workers in any one city again because of social unrest and the whims of civic government. So Vancouver has become one of those addresses that it's easier to immigrate talent into that can work for these international firms. And we have the post office building, the Post will have 11,000 Amazon employees. Across the street, West Bank's new building will have Microsoft head offices. Spotify is coming to town. And tech begets tech. More of it will come. But nobody has married housing supply to these higher paying jobs. And then you look at the disruption in Hong Kong. We hear the 300,000 passport workers might be possibly have the threat of having to declare 3,000 Canadian passport holders. They might have to declare, are they going to be a Canadian or
a Chinese?
Chinese citizen.
Okay.
Big plays. A lot of those people have already bought houses here, but we're going to see that immigration start to come. One of the problems we're all making is we're trying to make decisions right now. We have BC before COVID, DC during COVID, AC after COVID. We're trying to predict the future based on what's going on during COVID when you can't get here. When that immigration opens up and those jobs open up, we're going to go through a renaissance in the city that we're not prepared for.
Okay, so let me translate all this. 嗱，阿 Bob 嘅意思咧，佢就係話咩咧？immigration 最主要咧，點解我哋需要有 immigration 咧？就係因為咧，我哋即係年近歲晚咧，就唔係應該咁樣講嘅。不過咧，我哋真係過身嘅人數咧係多過出生 baby 嘅人數。咁所以變咗嘅情況就係咧，我哋係需要有呢啲移民人 過嚟去幫我哋俾稅啦。咁如果唔係嘅時候咧，25年之後咧，我哋真係人口老化得好緊要咧，係邊個俾稅啊咁樣？第二咧就係最主要，另外一樣嘢咧就係話美國啦 ，US 嗰邊啦，大家聽到新聞啦。OK， 1月6號嘅時候喺 Washington DC 嗰邊，即係有好多啲即係政局不穩定咁樣啦，全世界都有政局不穩定，咁所以變咗好多啲即係啲大企業咧，佢唔會再將一笪地方咧係擺10萬個員工喺嗰度嘅。OK， 佢會將嗰啲 employee 咧就係分開晒唔同嘅地方 ，OK， 咁唔會再有即係嗰啲員工咧可以有唔同嘅地方，佢唔會淨係喺Oregon 啊，或者喺 Seattle 啊，或者即係Washington 啊咁樣咧，就係擺晒個10萬人嗰個員工喺嗰度。咁 Vancouver 咧係一個好溫哥華咧係一個好特別嘅地方嚟嘅。咁嘅特別地方就係大家知道啦，喺Amazon 啦，喺 downtown 嗰度咧就會。將會成1,000個人 ，West Bank 咧喺對面嗰棟大廈咧就會有 Microsoft 啦，唔同嘅 high tech company 啦就會過嚟喺亦都喺 downtown 嗰度。咁所以但係個問題就係話咧，以前嗰啲 housing 咧講關於嗰啲物業咧係好少同呢啲 job。或者 immigration 拉埋一齊，咁而家大家嚟講咧就係有好多啲咁嘅高薪嘅，我同大家都分享過啦。有啲咧就即係啲20幾歲嗰啲咧，而家係10幾萬一年嘅。咁當佢哋有呢個咁高薪嘅job 嘅時候咧，佢哋就會搬嚟呢度溫哥華。而溫哥華咧 Vancouver 係一個咧係特別嘅地址嚟嘅，好多人咧都會中意係嚟溫哥華。所以以後嚟講咧，另外一樣嘢就係35萬嘅香港人。大家知道啦，香港政府嘅時候咧，大家都聽到啦。究竟佢哋可唔可以仲係攞住2個 passport 咧，即係2個 citizenship 咧？香港 Hong Kong 或者係China 咧，定係佢哋一定要選擇香港或者係Canada 咧？佢哋而家嘅情況就係話咧，有好多呢啲咁嘅政局不穩定嘅因素。咁好啦，而家最大一個問題咧就係話，好多啲政客咧就而家咧係想去做一個決定，因為 BC 就即係 before COVID 啦，喺 COVID 之前。DC 咧就即係 during COVID 啦，就即係而家 COVID 做緊啲乜嘢啦，跟住咧就係 AC 咧就 after COVID， 咁即係 COVID 之後咧點樣樣？咁問題就係話好多政客就想喺而家 during COVID 嘅時候咧去做呢啲決定係根本係唔啱嘅。Great, thank you. So next time you have to cut it short a little bit so I remember everything.
I didn't answer your question.
Okay.
Your question was that the Chinese population thinks if they're not buying, nobody will buy.
Yeah, sometimes we do think that way.
You want to say that?
Of course, OK。咁咧我就Bob 咧就係話啦，佢唔記得答我啊，因為我問佢啊嘛。好多時咧，我哋中國人咧就係覺得，如果中國人唔買嘢嘅時候咧，好似出邊冇人買嘢咁樣樣喎。So yes.
So in 1996,
OK.
we sold out a building, and I said to the developer, "Here's my worry." Is I think everybody's flying back. Then it was Hong Kong. It wasn't China. Everybody is flying back to Hong Kong. And on the plane, they're saying, we have to be careful because we're the only buyer and we can only sell to ourselves. And I said to the developer, let's start designing for locals. And if foreign money buys it, they buy it. But let's design for locals. And that was a big shift in the market.
That was 1996.
That was 1996.
Okay, let me translate that. 佢話咧1996年嘅時候咧，佢同一個開發商喺度講咧，就係話即係佢所有嘅啲 building 啦。咁但係大家知道啦，1996即係97嗰段時間咧，即係香港。即係榮歸翻去中國嘅時候咧，咁97之後咧，啲人咧就響聲即係馬照跑，舞照跳，冇事啦，咁咪翻去咯。咁個 developer 咧就係擔心啦，哇咁咧我起啲嘢就賣翻俾自己嘅人，咁而家我哋啲人走晒嘅時候，咁邊個買啊？咁啊 Bob 咧就去同呢個 developer 講咧，就係話 let's design something local， 就係話咧就係將所有嘅即係希望咧就再設計啲嘢咧係 for local 嘅本地人去買。咁如果外國嘅錢去買咪買咯，但係如果佢哋唔買嘅時候，咁至少我哋本地人可以買嘛。Great.
Yeah, and designing for locals is catering to local incomes in size and price per door. But it is, you know, if you look at Tiananmen Square, June the 4th, 1996.
I was in Hong Kong.
June the 4th, 1989. June the 4th, 1989.
Yeah, 1989, yes.
You could see right then that China was going to start to follow in the entrepreneurial footsteps of Hong Kong to Vancouver. We made that call then. And, for realtors out there or anybody making decisions, you have to start to use your judgment and data to look way ahead.
Absolutely.
If you look at we're going to have more deaths than births by 2028, then we better have immigration. And then we look at the large amounts of immigration we're going to allow. But there's so many topics. But one of the topics that we should marry, we've touched on jobs and immigration, is if you're 55 years of age and older.
Oh, thank you.
And you live in our region, Greater Vancouver, you're sitting on $289 billion, in clear title housing.
289 billion.
289 billion.
Oh my God.
That 289 billion was only worth 66 billion in 2006. So in 15 years, 66 billion to 289 billion. Unlike America, all of that asset and gain is tax-free currently.
Okay, let me translate that. So, Bob 嘅意思咧就即係話咧，佢哋嗰陣時，譬如話所有嘅 design 嘅時候。佢初咧講啊，接翻上一次咧就係話咩咧？佢話要將 local design 所有嘅 condo 咧就係要俾 local 嘅意思就係話咧本地人嘅收入、本地人嘅 size， 咁所以咧變咗咧佢先至可以咧係可以供應到俾本地人中意嘅嘢。好啦，呢個第一。第二嚟講咧就係大家如果你知道即係我哋。好多啦，即係連我自己咧，1989年6月4號天安門事件嘅時候咧，咁之後嘅時候咧，你就會開始睇得到咧，中國咧係會將我哋即係香港嗰個 entrepreneur 企業嗰個做嘢嗰個思維啊，令到咧就將佢咧就會係同香港嚟到相比。咁你睇到而家中國咧都係非常之企業化嘅。咁然之後咧，咁影響到香港人咧就係移民過嚟去 Vancouver， 所以令到呢個所有嘅連貫性咧，中國啊、香港嘅企業啊，然之後過埋嚟溫哥華呢度，咁有好多啲嘢咧，就大家要清楚一樣嘢。咁好啦，如果我做完啦，就會輪到我哋咧，就連到我哋下一節，你等一陣先，下一節嗰陣時再翻嚟咧，然之後再做再同大家傾偈。而家咧，我要先做一個嗰個 commercial 先。Completely forgotten about commercial.
I know, I was watching the clip.
I know, thank you so much. And he was waving and I completely don't know. So we have so many people. We have Bob Stalin there, you know Bob. Silence from S&P, Sid and Pete. And then we have different agents. A lot of people, they really want to hear your insight.
So now I'll tell you.
We don't have to translate now. So
I'll tell you culturally. What this $289 billion means.
Yes, I have to trying to remember or translate 289 billion in Chinese.
It's a big number.
That is a big number. But the cool part is that, like, we all, even now, like you've been in it for 45 years, I've been in it now, this is my 29th years. A lot of the agents, when they just got into the business, they said, well, do you think that or the geek, the young kids, 20-something years old, they said, well, will the price keep on going up? This is basically it's like back to your 1978 or 75 or 1996. Nobody believed the price will go up. But we witnessed it. You obviously witnessed 15 years longer than me. Then we have been witnessing the price has been going up and up. So, do you think that it will keep going up?
We record it now?
We're talking to our Facebook friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I would love to be the one to, before I quit, to say it's over, everybody get out. I can't see a way to stop it because housing has been so politicized that politicians are elected and unelected based on their stand towards density. And it's a science.
Yes.
Take jobs, take immigration, take deaths and births, and we all know how much luxury housing is needed, how much middle market housing is needed, how much rental and how much social housing.
Yes.
But to get anybody to do that they have to make plans for outside their elected term, and no politician wants to do anything outside their elected term.
They don't want to risk.
They'll have to wear it at election time.
They don't want to risk it.
It's just as simple as that. So
Yes.
once we understand those factors, you can start to see where real estate is going.
See, this is one good thing about the Facebook Times live is that this, I'm not going to say that on air about, but you guys got this secret conversation.
Secret conversation. Yeah.
No secrets.
Secret as it's on YouTube.
Hello. So 多謝大家翻嚟繼續咧，我同阿 Bob 嘅 conversations 咧嘅對話咧係關於溫哥華嗰個公寓嘅發展潛能嘅係點樣樣嘅。嗱，頭先咧我就同大家去翻譯到咧就係情況咩咧？佢係咧，如果我哋55歲，我連埋我自己啦嚇以上嘅咧，我哋睇到咧就係、我哋會知道咧，由2020年嘅時候咧，我哋有2890億嘅 cash。2020年 ，OK 係喺溫哥華嘅 ，OK 即係啲housing 嘅啲價值啊。但係咧喺2006年嗰陣時咧，先只不過係得666億嘅啫。咁所以你諗下，2006年、2020年，只不過係10幾年嘅時間，而10幾年嘅時間咧，你係可以由660億去到2890億，咁你自己諗下啦，嗰個數字係幾大？咁我頭先咧就亦都有同阿 Bob 去講過咧，就係問佢就話咩咧？如果佢嘅數據就係話，如果你冇數據咧，你政治嘅人物咧就可以話即係中意就話，因為佢4年嘅政治生涯啊，或者8年嘅政治生涯啊，就點都好啦。咁佢哋所有做嘅決定咧，只不過係一個喺政治生涯上邊咧，佢嗰段時間咧去做呢啲咁嘅決定。但係喺數據 data 嗰方面咧，佢睇到咧以後係點樣樣。所以比如話如果知道2028年咁人口老化或者過身嘅比出生嘅更多嘅時候，咁佢咪一定要去做 immigration 嘅嘢咯。咁政府咧就要將嗰個移民嗰個人數啊越嚟越擴大。So that's what I want to share with ask you one thing is that remember there were times. Okay, a few years ago, there were times when the market, like 2017 and all that, it was crazy with a lot of money from China coming here. And a lot of the locals, we don't want immigrations. We don't want any more immigrations. But now, this COVID actually sees that without the immigrations, everything is kind of like slowed down.
Well,
so let me just translate that quickly.
The world slowed down just because of immigration,
I know.
But lack of confidence in where the world is going to end up.
Yes. 嗱，咁我頭先咧就係同阿Bob 就係話啦，我話咧就即係所有嘅嘢咧就係覺得就係話會唔會慢落嚟？個人咧幾年前嘅時候咧就喺度講啦，如果咧太多移民嘅時候咧攞晒我哋啲福利咧，咁又買將嗰啲物價咧物業嘅價錢咧升到鬼死咁高，咁即係就情願就唔想要咁多移民。咁2020年 Covid 嘅時候咧嘅移民咧就全部慢咗啦。咁阿 Bob 嘅意思咧就係話唔係淨係2020年，其實咧就係即係全世界你都係 slow down 咗嘅，最主要咧就大家冇咗個信心個 confidence，they don't see when it's gonna stop，so that's kind of like bad things right？ 即係因為個信心唔知道幾時先完啦 COVID 咁樣樣咯。
You know, immigration slowed down everywhere. I'll tie it back in, but as we've sat at home cocooning with our families in isolation and in our bubbles, you know, in 2008. We saw we almost lost it all, but the world came back. Mm-hmm. COVID is really sending out a change in how we are going to react coming out of it, because this won't be our only COVID.
Correct.
So we're going to become much more conservative. When we see that our province has gone in debt $12 to $14 billion, the country $443 billion, mm-hmm. South of the border over $9 trillion mm-hmm. during COVID, it's pretty fair to say we're going to be in for higher taxes somehow. Mm-hmm. The electability short term, we won't see it, but mm-hmm. it's going to happen. And so our single family residents now, principal residents, we get to sell tax-free. Is the federal government going to put a 1 or a 2% transfer tax on in the next 24 months? I think absolutely. And what we're seeing with our aging baby boomer is they're going to buy down a little further than they thought. Instead of buying a 1,900 square foot condo, they'll buy 15, or they'll go a little further east to get their 1,900. And instead of giving their kids each 200,000 when they sell the home, they're going to give them 400,000 or 500,000. And we are going to see the transfer of wealth by the living rather than by the deceased. A lot of this is tax avoidance, tax preparation, and you can just feel it happening right now when 80% of our first-time buyers are getting help from mom and dad or their grandparents.
Okay.
That was an Asian culture. It is a Canadian
No,
culture.
that's right. 咁咧我就同大家去分享一下啦，因為阿 Bob 嘅意思咧就係話咧，即係因為2008年嗰陣時候咧，大家都記得啦，全球金融風暴啦，咁所以咧個咧就以為真係好似世界末日咁樣樣，咁但係咧反彈喎，好啦，到2020年嘅時候咧就係 Covid 啦，咁你 Covid 咧就係會變將大家所有嘅嗰個 reactions 啊，點樣去反應咧，就要去改變啦 ，OK？ 因為咧呢個咧我哋而家講緊呢個疫情咧，將唔會係最後一個疫情，以後咧都一定會仲有疫情出現，咁所以我哋每個人咧嗰個做嘢啊或者個處事嘅方法咧就可能比較保守啲，咁啊再加埋啦債務咯喎。Vancouver City 咧有112億嘅債務 ，OK， 112億到114億嘅債務 ，OK。Canada 咧就有4443億嘅債務，咁然之後美國唔使講啦，九幾度笑啊，即係笑啦，佢哋嗰啲咁嘅債務係咪？咁所以變咗咧tax 嘅問題啦，一定係會有高。而家咧就係究竟高咩嘅 tax 嘅時候啦，咁然之後咧就阿 Bob 有講到啦，就關於個獨立屋啦。咁而家我哋冇 capital gain 噶嘛，我哋係即係賺幾多，我哋就係可以即係擺落自己個袋，好安全咁樣擺落自己個袋啊嘛。但係咧，你未來嘅時候咧，你有個可能性咧會有1 to 2%， 1至2% 嘅嗰個即係 transfer tax 啦，或者即係我哋見嗰個嘅離印費啊，或者係過戶費啦。好啦，咁嘅情況之下咧，另外一樣嘢啦，阿 Bob 講到咧就係話嗰個 baby boomer 啦，我哋所謂即係我哋嗰個嬰兒期嗰個 baby boomer 啦。咁嬰兒期我哋呢啲50零啊、60零啊、70零歲嘅我哋呢班市民嘅時候咧，以前咧就係話會係即係大屋換細屋，咁然之後大屋換細屋嘅時候咧就可能係1900尺，咁但係咧而家1900尺唔好啦。留翻啲錢俾細路啦，就變咗1500尺，或者咧想要1900尺嘅咧就去遠啲，然之後買個1900尺，咁然之後咧就俾啲錢嘅細蚊仔。以前咧就可能俾20萬，而家咧可能要俾40萬。咁大家亦都知道咧，呢個咧就唔係即係中國人嘅傳統係咁，其實而家咧就加拿大嘅傳統都係咁樣樣，就唔係咧即係過咗身有好多。你知道我哋中國人咧就有講話 ，OK， 我過咗身之後咧，我先至俾啲細蚊仔啲錢，但係其實就唔係，而家咧就係神咁早咧就先俾定啦。然之後咧就唔係話我過咗身之後我先俾你，而係啦我仲未過身嘅時候咧，就可能我賣咗間屋，買間細啲俾佢自己住，然之後咧幫啲細蚊仔咧，然之後去買屋嘅。So when you mention about the down payment we need it from our parents, it's not the Chinese things, it's not the Canadian thing, it's the Canadian thing.
It's just a thing.
It's just a thing, right? So I want to share with you that during our conversation, our coffee, I mentioned to you that I'm now working with IT kids. Okay, so all these geeks, 20-something years old, under 30 years old, they all make a good amount of money. So for Chinese or Canadian, doesn't matter, the Canadian thing. In the past, because the income, we generally say that it's not as bad.
You're calling them Chinese, but they either have a PR card or a Canadian citizenship.
Correct. Now, there's yes.
48.5% of Vancouver is of Asian origin, and just over 30% of our region. We were at 28.5. I believe we're over 30% of our region is of Asian origin. So we have to be very careful what we call a Canadian. We opened a project in Surrey a year and a half ago, and 98% of the people in the presentation center pre-COVID all had black hair. but only 1% of them were offshore. But we tend to label.
Correct.
And yet you don't say, oh, all those Irishmen or all those Italians.
No.
And it's something I think we have to get away from.
Okay, so 嗱阿 Bob 嘅意思咧就係話咩咧？因為我頭先講啊嘛，我問佢嘅時候就係話，中國人啊，俾啲錢細蚊仔，然之後落首期啊咁樣樣。佢話咧其實咧就唔係淨係中國人，因為咧溫哥華嚟講咧係48.5%咧就係好多啲係亞裔嘅人，咁佢話咧佢1年半之前咧喺 Surrey 咧就有一個 project 咧喺 Surrey 嗰度公開出售嘅時候咧，佢係話大部分啊都係黑頭髮嘅 ，OK， 大部分都係黑頭髮嘅。但佢黑頭髮之時咧，佢就唔係講緊嗰個只不過咧係有1% 咧係 offshore money， 即係海外嘅錢嘅啫，係只係1% 係海外錢。咁所以變咗咧就阿 Bob 嘅意思就係話，我哋唔好再去講話黑頭髮、金頭髮、咩頭髮嗰啲啦，唔好講個種族嗰個情況啦，而係咧根本我哋個移民嘅政策嘅時候咧，就係有好多亞裔人咧係過嚟我哋呢度嘅。Okay.
And another layer that you have to put in this, I don't know how many people are listening to this, but everybody on here doesn't know what to do with money. Money in the bank getting virtually 0% interest. 18 months ago, I sat next to a fellow in Switzerland, 1.2 billion euros. He was getting negative 1.8%, and he was happy because his money was safe. But we don't know what to do with money, and yet for inflation, there's nothing any of us do right now that doesn't cost more than last year, yet those inflation numbers aren't coming through properly because we're measuring more mortgage payments and household costs rather than getting some new metrics in there to measure. But interest rates are so low, so family purchases are being made and family support for purchases, so the culture of ownership. But I had a fellow pull up with me and ask me a question about a car that I had, and he was driving a brand new Corvette, and it was a 22-year-old kid with his girlfriend, and they got out of the car, and I said, tell me, what would make you buy that car? Why would you buy that new Corvette? And his answer was, oh, I'm in software and I got a bonus, didn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
But that is new money to town.
Exactly. 要買屋，所以而家獨立屋嗰啲市場冚聲，大家都知道啦。咁我因此咁樣，因為佢始終都係公寓大王啊，做咗40幾年啦，咁變咗咧就大家咧，我就想問下佢啦，佢對以後公寓嗰個睇法，我哋投資，因為點都好啦，我哋呢個投資投資節目啊嘛，會係點樣樣咧 ？Because after all, this is a investment program. So we want to talk about, so okay, not everybody can buy, or it doesn't make sense to buy a house to invest right now. So what do you think?
It does if you're looking at capital appreciation. Don't look at rental return and cap rate.
Yes.
But I think if we look at before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, right now only 2 or 4 people will get in an elevator.
Yes.
We're never going back to 19 people in an elevator again. Not going to happen. We're not going to be pushing people into an elevator. We are all a little bit germophobic, and we're all going to be. This has penetrated our soul, so we have to watch those things. But we also have to watch green initiatives. That it is better to have more people on less land, so we build up instead of out. We don't have the transportation systems to warrant going way out. I believe that we don't have enough office space in Surrey, that we're going to have to start having office space so that people can work closer to where they live. All these workers coming into downtown, they all can't afford to buy in the city. So we have to satisfy some of those sides, but I don't know how to end the politicization of real estate. I just don't know how to stop that right now.
Okay, let me translate that one. 咁咧，阿 Bob 嘅意思咧就係話咩咧？無可否認咧，就 Covid 啦、Covid 前啦、Covid 後啦，同埋而家我哋 Covid 嘅時間咧，Covid 影響到我哋咧，就大家咧，如果你入 lift 咧，而家咧都係2個人或者4個人入 lift 嘅啫。佢覺得咧就係以後完全唔會10幾人喺個 lift 裏邊噶啦，因為個咧，因為呢個疫情咧，令到大家咧都即係擔憂。 或者咧就怕會唔會即係吸人哋打個乞嗤都驚嗰隻，咁所以變咗咧就呢個最主要呢個係一個令到已經深入我哋嘅心啊，所以變咗咧你如果見到咧多過4個人咧，你根本你多過2個人你都唔會入去噶啦，咁所以阿 Bob 嘅意思咧就係綠化啦 ，Green Initiative 綠化呢樣嘢，咁但係咧如果有好多時咧就係話咧transportation。我哋始終嗰個車嗰個交通個系統咧，未可以去到好遠。咁譬如話 office 啦，譬如阿 Bob 佢覺得咧，就係數理嘅 office 咧，嗰啲辦公室咧，係基本上唔夠多嘅。咁所以好多時，但係咧，如果啲細蚊仔喺 downtown 嚟到翻工嘅時候咧，佢亦都買唔起市中心喎。咁所以變咗咧就而家我哋繼續嗰個話題係點樣樣啦。So what do you think? Transportation is not good enough, infrastructure is not good enough, Surrey don't have enough office, but then the kids works here, so...
Okay, so why do people want to live here?
點解人鍾意住喺呢度?
Why don't we all go live in Moose Jaw? It's 40 cents on the dollar. Because we all want to live where everybody else lives. So we can't change that. But if you go back to my Tiananmen Square, now let's look at COVID, social disruption in America. Let's look at Iran. Let's look at Brazil. Let's look at people moving here from Mexico. We are a very safe place to be.
溫哥華係一個好安全嘅地方。
Ability and access to education. 4 wonderful seasons, great drinking water, but a metric that wasn't measured when we used to say we had Expo 86, we handed out our business card to the world and they kept it, is healthcare. And how we handled COVID. We may not like it. We may think that it's been too many restrictions and too much trouble with masks, etc. But we are doing really, really well compared to a lot of jurisdictions of over 500 million, of over 5 million, which our province is. So as we move forward, we are going to measure access to healthcare and how we handled a crisis like COVID. And we're going to get really top grades. But all of these things put more pressure onto housing. And I'll go back where I started because we don't have much time left.
Okay, so can I translate this quickly? Yeah. 咁阿 Bob 嘅意思咧就係話咧，溫哥華始終咧係一個非常之好嘅聖地啊，真係教育啦，我哋有4季啦。即係春夏秋冬啦，跟住咧我哋啲水又好喎，咁所以咧就即係冇人會知道咧喺1986年嗰個 Expo 嘅時候咧，會令到即係全世界啲人咧就即係印象深刻，個個都想嚟溫哥華噶啦。咁而家最主要嚟講就係有一個情況咧，就係即係比較雖然大家好多啲人咧就唔中意咁多限制啊，又話唔俾呢度去，唔俾嗰度去，但係個 healthcare 嘅情況咧就係我哋最主要，咁我哋溫哥華咧始終咧係比起其他啲城市咧就有500萬以上嘅人咧，我哋實在係好多嘅。咁以後咧就一定要同所有嘅計劃咧就要同 health 係有關聯㗎啦。OK? Yes. So we have limited time, so we're trying to squeeze everything in.
So just looking at where the economy is going, when you look at what a wonderful place this is to be, so those are fundamentals. But one of the things that upset economists around the world is they look at our incomes and they look at the cost of housing and say we're in trouble, it's a bubble, it's going to collapse. I've had a saying that I've used for 30 years as I became conscious in this business, that we don't go up in fundamentals as British Columbia, so why would we go down on fundamentals? And it sounds glib and sarcastic and a flippant line, but we have tax-free home equity, that those metrics don't apply to anything coming out of the United States, and economists that look at their metrics of incomes to housing.
Yes.
We have a shortage of rental, but one of the things that I think for all of us on this call is in 2008, 100% of our unemployment were high-income workers. At one point, one of our metrics of our unemployment during COVID in 2020
is low income.
57% were part-time workers. If we don't take care with a living wage or get our part-time workers back to work, we are going to have social disruption. And if we get too much social disruption, like we're seeing such a divide in some places in America, it's going to be very difficult for us to carry on business.
I guess it's by the time I finish translating this, we will be done. We need another hour with him or 2 hours with him. So 好快咧就同大家講就係話咧，點解佢覺得咧外國嗰啲經濟師咧係根本唔識睇我哋個市咧就係咁啊咩咧？全世界嚟講咧，我估唔好講全世界，北美嚟講咧。只有溫哥加拿大咧係我哋嗰個自住嘅物業咧係賺幾多錢就落幾多錢嘅袋嘅，唔需要係俾稅嘅。而美國嗰啲咧就全部自住嘅咧賺咗嗰啲，佢哋都係要俾稅嘅。咁如果你睇下2008年嘅時候咧，嗰個 unemployment rate 喺2008年嘅時候咧係高收入嘅時候，嗰啲人咧係冇工做嘅2008年。但係而家今時今日咧2020年，因為個 COVID 嘅時候咧冇工做嗰啲咧係57%咧係低收入人士嚟嘅。So wrap it up. Where can we invest? This is investment things. Show.
Anything under $1.5 million is going to be very, very, very safe. But I've always taken this that you buy for long term.
Yes.
I'll have to tell you with our holdings, we're not sellers. I don't see a reason why we should leave when you can refinance at today's low interest rates. If I see a soft spot, it's downtown over $2,000, over $2,500 per square foot, because I'm seeing my aging baby boomer they don't want to wait 5 years and to sell their home and buy something. They'd like a little more certainty that they can move within a 12-month or 24-month period. So that's an adjustment we have to go through. And I love East Vancouver, and I think that Surrey has been highly underestimated, and we're just seeing that change now.
Okay, thank you so very much. Love you. So let me finish quickly translate it. 150萬以下嘅物業非常之穩陣，長線投資，唔好賣嘢。OK， 因為咧就而家嚟講咧就好多佢哋覺得咧佢永遠都好中意東溫嘅東區。Surrey 數理嚟講咧，仲係價錢嚟講絕對可以增值，所以大家嚟講咧就即係今日咧，我好多謝阿 Bob 可以同我哋去分享咁多嘢，我多幾粒鐘我都唔夠時間去同佢即係同佢傾偈啊。So thank you so very much again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much again. So 多謝大家，咁啊下個禮拜咧我再有其他啲嘢咧同大家去分享。Thank you so much.
Be safe.
Be safe. Bye.